are not aware of this organization.
Yes.
Tell us something about it and its mandate.
Thank you. Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee is a statutory state agency that is charged with harmonious, effective intergovernmental relations between the two levels of government. It has a legal framework, Intergovernmental Relations Act number 2 of 2012, that has founded the Secretariat or the Technical Committee. And one of the mandates of intergovernmental relations is being the Secretariat of the Summit. The Summit is where the President is the chair and the Chairman Council of Governors is the Vice Chair, bringing together all the governors. So we are the Secretariat of the Summit. We participate in generation of the agenda, taking of the minutes, implementation of the resolutions of the summit through ministries, departments, and agencies. Apart from that, we are also charged with convening the county secretaries 30 days before in a summit, and the summit is supposed to happen twice a year. The third item is we took over the residue functions. There was a body on transfer of functions that was called Transitional Authority. Any residue activity, function that remained upon their dissolution on 2015, intergovernmental relations took over that function. The last one is that we do facilitate the Secretariat of the Summit as well as the Council of Governors. We also convene the sectoral forums. Sector of water, sector of agriculture, sector of education, sector of environment, sector of trade. And in that sector forum, it is purpose for more cultivation. It's a platform for cultivation of intergovernmental relations, policy harmonization, dispute resolution, as well as planning, joint planning, to ensure that there are no overlaps, there is no wastage within the sector. And the policies, the regulations that support devolution are aligned accordingly.
Indeed. And on Monday, through the Devolution Ministry,
yes,
we talked about mapping out government assets, government properties, and you want to put them together. They are in the counties. Kindly tell us something about that project.
Yes,
181 million?
181.
181.
Let me say that first and foremost, I would inform Kenyans that we have had 3 phases. There were de facto local authorities 175 before the current 47 county governments. So those local authorities had assets and equally they had liabilities. We identified, verified and validated the assets and liabilities of the de facto local authorities, 175, and we collected that information, put it in a register, prepared a report and submitted to IBEC. Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, chaired by His Excellency the Deputy President, and it got the approval, and it was again submitted to Summit, and it was adopted. We again went down to the counties. There are devolved functions, health, water, agriculture, all those that went, ECDs and everything else, that went to the county governments, that were previously performed by the national government. And again, we identified, verified and validated those assets, prepared a register, and again submitted to IBEC and the Summit. Those 2 registers, those are 94 registers from the from the 47 counties, relating to de facto local authorities and the devolved functions. We are on phase 3, where we are undertaking valuation. We are ascribe and attach value to every asset that we have identified. After that, we will go to the transfer, which will be undertaken by the National Land Commission together with the Ministry of Lands. But on Monday, we now launched, through the leadership of the Principal Secretary, State Department of Devolution, we launched the national exercise of valuing those assets, so that the first phase of 26 counties shall now, between Monday 14th to 2nd of April. For those 3 weeks, we shall be able to undertake that valuation. We have the support of the valuers from the State Department of Lands, the National Land Commission. And we also have valuers mechanical valuers, because we will value plant, vehicles, machinery that was left, dozers, tractors, all those that belong to county councils, town councils, and urban areas, municipalities. They will be valued. Though they have depreciated, but they will be valued so that then they can be transferred. For those assets that cannot be valued, like old furniture, obsolete computers, they should and they shall be disposed by the respective county governments using the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, and also, of course, taking care, especially on computer items, in regards to environment. So this is a valuation exercise. It's a national exercise that is very serious, because among the aspects that we want to achieve is to safeguard the public property. Second is to ensure that the counties get the correct value of the assets. And in those two reports I've mentioned, for de facto local authorities and also for the devolved functions, we have recommended liquidation options for the liabilities, because counties or local authorities rather, they had incurred some debts. There was some unpaid dues, even including pension. And therefore, those ones must be liquidated before now you transfer. So how do you liquidate that? We provided for three options. One, that the county governments can provide progressively in their budgets to settle that. Second is for the county government to talk to the national government through the National Treasury for conditional grants, where specifically it will go to settle those. The third option is the debt swap. National government owes the county government so much, like the rates of the Kenya Power vis-a-vis Nairobi, and they have a plot, they have land, they have a building, they can do debt swap. That is for the two levels, county specific with the national government.
And we're talking about 181 million.
Yes.
Seems like a drop in the ocean when it comes to 47 counties. It's quite little. And what happens after this? Because some of the assets are owned by the national government, and basically every asset is owned by the national government, but there are some that are owned by the county governments. What happens to these assets?
These assets, first let me say that in the development, in the collation of production of the two registers, we did a saving. The Transition Authority was to undertake, this is a residue function of the valuation of assets, of the preparation of the respective registers of the assets and the liabilities. That was supposed to have been done by Transition Authority. But we took it over legally as a residue function, and we did a saving. Whereas the Transition Authority had asked for 4 billion. We came up with a framework, IGRTC, and we undertook those two levels of the registers with support from the National Treasury of 440 million. So when we now come to valuation, and you say 181 million is a drop in the ocean, no, we have quantified everything. We have taken care of the logistics that are necessary. We have taken care of even the software that will be able to generate these reports, so that promptly as it is undertaken, we have taken care of the technology that the valuers will use. We will no longer now go to the other, there is a technology that they are using. So the generation of reports is promptly, and therefore 181 million is adequate. And we will be able now to deliver the report on valuation. And this report on valuation is so critical to every county. So I would urge that every county participates. We may have some resistances, like we had the governor for Meru does not want that to be undertaken because there is some perception that there is rad grabbing or anything. The assumption of office of the governor requires that there is a section, a provision, where the chairman, who is the county secretary, shall produce the register of assets in the assumption of the governor. So there is no governor who should be an obstacle. We have worked with them. We trained. We did gazette notice that on valuation. And the Council of Governors, the Attorney General, Minister of Lands, State Department of Devolution, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee participated. the Ministry of Infrastructure. We have had an interagency work in this process. And there are also structures. There is a national steering committee led by the PSs in the participating departments, led by the chair, who is Mr. Julius Koril, the PS for devolution. Dr. Moragori is a co-chair of that national steering committee. And I participate at that level as a chairman of IGRTC. Then we have the National Technical Steering Committee, the National Technical Coordination Committee, chaired by the Chief Executive Officer of IGRTC, bringing all the technical departments together. They offer secretarial, logistical, and financial support to this process. Then we have the County Assets and Valuation Committee, that is chaired by the County Secretary and co-chaired by the County Commissioner, so that the two levels of government participate in the valuation of this exercise.
Yeah, and indeed, that was supposed to be my next question. Some of the challenges, because at the end of the day, we are looking at defunct county government assets. Yet since 2013, we've had governors. There are some who have been ousted.
Yes.
Some have actually been defeated in the 2017 general election. How do you merge all these to come up with a clean and safe and sure and confident report that we have all our assets without any challenge whatsoever?
The importance of this valuation exercise cannot be gainsaid. It's a one-off.
It has to be done.
It has to be given all the attention. It has to be done. It is also time-bound, because you see, we again, in the next 4 months, we must present these county secretaries. All 47 county secretaries must have a register of assets that they will hand over to any incoming governor. Even if it is a governor who is re-elected, he has to have that. So for us to be able to support the county governments to have those registers, the valuation has to happen. The third aspect of the importance is that this has delayed since 2013. And it is because of these obstacles, these challenges, these excuses that people say, no, my country is not ready, we don't have enough personnel, we don't have resources. Enough is enough now.
Are you saying this is why the exercise has dragged on? The local government ceased operations in 2013. We have new governments, but the exercise has taken almost 10 years.
Precisely. And IGRTC has innovatively come up with a framework that saves a lot of money to the national government and makes it easier for us to be able to capture the necessary data. All registrable assets have been isolated from the larger reports that we got for the fact local authorities, 175, and for the devolved functions. And now we have a register that we have shared with respective 47 teams of registrable assets that are going to be valued, because an old computer, maybe a broken desk, those are items that that cannot be. But there is land, there are buildings, there are vehicles, there are dozers, plant and equipment that must be quantified. And after quantification, after ascribing a value and a register, a report is collated, taken to IBIC and summit, then we shall share that with the county secretaries, so that the county secretaries, that is one of the deliverables they have to share with the incoming governor. So the sitting governors need to give us, through the Council of Governors, maximum support. In fact, we, IGRTC and the Ministry of Devolution and respective interagency committee are supporting the county government to realize their value, and by extension, the national government. As we prepare to migrate, we are already 1 year late to migrate to international public sector accounting system. Kenya requested for an extension of 1 year. We cannot keep extending. Yeah, because we extend, we have, as you rightly say, we have extended for 10 years.
Yes.
We have delayed for 10 years. And then we have excuses at this time. Some governors will say, no, it is an electoral year, it cannot be done. People will think we are grabbing and we are disrupting. No. Those excuses, again, are blamed on IGRTC and the national government. No, we don't know the value. And in the process, any transition, there is a likelihood that in those gaps, loss of public land may happen. And we do not want to allow that. We know it has happened before,
yes,
but we are responsible. We are in the position. Can we work together as a team?
Talking about loss of public assets, you bear me witness that we have a lot of corruption in counties, and a lot of government land has been grabbed. A lot of assets are in the hands of the public. How do you intend to get them back? And what do you intend to do to those people who are arrested or who will be summoned because of using government land or assets to benefit themselves?
I'll answer with two analogies. One, there is a statement people use that mkono ya serikali ni ndefu.
Yes.
What people also forget is that records are not only in Kiambu, Homa Bay, Kilifi, or Mandera. They are also in Radhi House. They are also in Ruaraka. The maps, the old maps, the old plans, PDPs, they are there. Nobody should think that they have gotten away with it. Second is that right now IGRTC has been requested by Senate to give the status of some plots of Nairobi, which, you know, Nairobi, they are saying they want to sell some of these products, some of these plots, so that they offload the 4 billion that they owe KCB. So Senator Sakaja asked that question, and IGRTC went to its records, and we have supplied that information which already we captured. But there are some people in between here, between the capture of our data and assets, they transferred and purported to grab. But that record is with IGRTC. It means, therefore, that many people may think they are getting away with it. But the record is with IGRTC, it is with Adi House, it is with Ruaraka, the survey office. So, no doubt that we are moving in. And with this valuation, we'll be locking the gaps. We'll be closing the gaps of theft, plunder of public resources, and more importantly, ensure that the counties henceforth shall report their value in the financial reporting, annual financial reporting. And with that entry, then it means that it will never be lost.
Yes.
If it comes in the next financial reporting that it is missing, you have to explain why it went.
Okay.
So it is enhancing accountability and transparency, and also safeguarding public resources against grabbing. So
you can comfortably say that all the assets that the government owns that are in the individual's hands, they will be seized from them and returned back to either the county government or the national government? Automatically. Because we have registers are there at IGRTC, registers are there at lands, registers are there also in a survey office. And all that, now it is the element of tracing. The document tracing, and therefore your records. How did you acquire in 2015 2 acres in Isili, which were Nyayo ward set aside land? Yes. How did it become private? Yes. Yeah. So how did it become private? There was a cemetery, a public cemetery land. So how did it become apartments? How did you build apartments in Bungoma on public cemetery, for example? Yes. How did you make it a car wash in Kakamega? A public plot. So all those things. Yes. Yeah. How did you? This is a water plot that is supposed to have a water tank for supplying people, and yet you have made it your stage for your matatus. I can tell you for fact that you as an organization who have a huge task and very limited time, because you've talked about by August. Okay. We will touch on that and also look at how. We look at the pending bills. Of course, there are some governors who leave some pending bills and some debts. How will we transit to the next government? But before then, of course, we are with John Mborogo, who is the chairman of IGRTC, which is currently on an ambitious project to check on the government assets and return them either to the national government or even to the county governments. But for now, let's now cross over to the Sarova Pan-Afric Hotel, where the National Council for Population and Development are holding a meeting there, and we have our very own Kamche Menza there to give us more on the same. Kamche, if you can hear me kindly, what's the latest?
Good morning to you, Ben, Troy, Njue, back in studio. Yes, like you said it, we are out here at this Rover Pan-Afric Hotel, where this morning there was an engagement between the media professionals and Media Council of Kenya, as well as the National Council of Population and Development, and also the State Department of Planning to talk issues around population development and issues also touching on the youth. Remember, the youth who are actually below 35 years make the biggest population in the country, and there are issues that touch on development around the country, and there are issues also touching on development on the youth. So the particular engagement this morning was actually signing of an MOU between NCPD, the National Council of Population Development, and Media Council of Kenya, just to try and bring on board the media professionals to actually highlight some of the issues out there concerning population development, concerning the different demographics that fall under their particular population, as well as the matters touching development. So basically, there are a wide range of issues that have been spoken about this morning. I would like to engage the Director General of National Council of Population Development in the country to highlight more on these issues. Bwana Mohamed Sheikh, someone may be asking, why are you now engaging the media, so to speak, at this particular moment to try and highlight issues on this population development?
So thank you very much, and good morning, Kenyans. So this morning it is just a continuation of our working relationship that we had with the Media Council of Kenya and our journalists and professionals in the media fraternity. The function this morning was just to sign an MOU where MCPD will train journalists on issues of population and development. Issues of population and development are really very important matter in this country, because sometimes we look at population just at the numbers, but then CPD looks beyond the numbers, look at the size, look at the structure, look at the content of population, because you may have the number of people, but how many are elderly, how many are children, how many are women, how many are men, and how many of them are educated. So we just give the dynamics of that population, and it's important that the journalists and the professionals in the media understand these things in details. The National Council of Population institution that is mandated to advise the government on population matters and linking population and development, because resource number one of any nation, it is people. So for us to make the right investment, we must understand the characteristic of our population so that we can do the right planning for our population. And that's why we invited the media, so that they can understand in details what is all about these population matters. Currently, as a country, really we are in a transition period where our population dynamic is changing. We are moving from a child-based population to a very youthful population. In the next 50 years, we are saying that we have what we call the demographic dividend, where we will have a very youthful population, and as a nation, we must harness the demographic dividend of this youth. And how do we harness? Doing the right investment in terms of the youth and their needs, so that at least we create jobs for them, we educate them, and they're skilled and they're healthy, so that at least at this moment, we can do heavy lifting as a nation, and then as a nation we develop, so that at least in the future, as our country slowly ages, in the next 50 years, we have a reserve for the next population. And that's why really we want to involve the media, so that they're involved, they're informed, educated, and issues of population matter.
I want to believe we are in that age or that period of demographic dividend, as you mentioned. So basically, what are we doing? We need to make the youth active. We need to engage the youth in production. What exactly are we doing, or what are we failing to do right now?
I think as a country we have done very well in terms of, I think, identifying the challenges that affect our youth. We have done the right investment. We just need to improve and up that game in terms of investing in the youth, what you call initiatives. In that regard, what we want is the youth to be educated, so that they are also, they have the right skills and they are given the right opportunity, so that at least they can now make incomes and also, contribute in the development of our nation. Because if you keep these youth and you don't create jobs and you don't educate them, you can have issues to do with the restlessness in our country. So that's why really we need to understand the challenges in our youth and where they are and what they do, and then create jobs for them, so that at least we can use their potentials today and not tomorrow.
Are you satisfied as a National Council of Population Development? Are you satisfied on how the youth are being engaged in terms of getting them developed or fully participating in the development of the country?
As a nation, we're doing I think, the right investment in terms of the youth, but still there are gaps which at least we need to address and improve on. But as a nation, I think we have identified where the challenges, where the problems are. If you look at our constitutions, you know how we have prioritized the issues of women, and the youth. I think those are the things really we have. So far we have done well, but we just need to put again more efforts to ensure that we really, maximize the potential of the youth in this decade.
Someone might be asking themselves, what are the dangers that if we don't engage the youth fully as it's supposed in this particular period that you're mentioning, what are the dangers that the country is likely to find itself in the future?
No, the risk of not engaging the youth is one, you're losing the potential of your youth, because a person who is aged at the moment, let's say 20, in the next probably 30 years, 50, look at that person and you have not utilized the potential of that person. For one, you're losing the potential of this category of population. So that's why really we need to do a bit of heavy lifting in the next 30, 40, 50 years, so that like the Asian tigers, within a short period of 30 years, they were able to move from a developing nation to a developed nation because they really harnessed the potential of their youth and made the right investment. So what we are saying as the National Council for Population and Development, at the moment we know what our needs are, what our priority areas, but we need to do the right investment in those priority areas. So the risk is there, but we can overcome the risk by really doing the priority interventions. Yeah.
What are some of the proposals that you have that the youth can be engaged, perhaps?
Well, I think the youth should get the right skills so that, we don't just do, any training, but we just give them the right skills, especially more. That's why I think the country we have introduced the CBC. Our universities also should, have, the right what you call curriculums and, the right what you call the trainings for our youth, so that we look at issues to do with the science courses, the STEM. We look at issues to do with technical courses. We need to improve our colleges so that we do more of, things which are technical rather than, looking at more focusing on issues that may not contribute to the development of our nation. So at least I need to identify the right education for our youth and also look at identify the right investment in terms of industries, cottage industries for our youth. Job creation is very important. Again, another issue that we need to invest is, again, governance, the right governance. When we don't have, a system that is really cohesive, that's integrating, also youth will have challenges. So we need to give opportunities to youth so that at least they can contribute to the development of the nation.
I understand there are some commitments in CPD, or rather the country as Kenya made in the ICPD 25 2 years ago. There are some commitments you made. How far are you in achieving those commitments?
So Kenya hosted the ICPD, the International Conference on Population and Development, in 2019, a conference that, the chief guest was our president, His Excellency, our president. We made 17 commitments. They were global commitments, they were country commitments, and then also there was regional commitments. As Africa also, we made commitments. So Kenya made 17 commitments, and these 17 commitments, they are mostly looking at issues of zero gender-based violence, zero maternal mortality, and zero unmet need for family planning. So far, the 17 commitment, we have done the first and the second progress report, and NCPD monitors the progress. It is implemented by various ministries. NCPD, the National Council for Population and Development, coordinates these activities. So far, I think we have made some progress, and we are trying to get, resources to make sure that at least we accelerate the investment in this area.
One issue that you also mentioned that might affect development and population for the youth is the teen pregnancy. How bad is the situation from where you sit? How bad is the situation?
So teenage pregnancy is, again, as NCPD, the National Council for Population Development, looks at teenage pregnancy as an issue of developmental challenge. We are having a national steering committee chaired by the PS State Department of Planning, and that really there's a proper coordination at the national level and at the county level. Really, it is something that we must end for us to make, strides and in terms of our development. So again, we're working on that with the various ministries who are dealing with these issues, and our partners and the society and the community at large. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mohammed Sheikh.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, Troy, like you heard it from the Director General, National Council of Population and Development in the country, just touching on some of the issues and some of the measures that the country is trying to put in place to ensure that some of the developments targeting to improve the country's economy are actually achieved. So basically, that's it from here. Back to you, Troy, in studio.
Thank you so much, Kamche Menza, live from the Sarova Pan-Afric Hotel, where the National Council for Population and Development are holding a meeting with stakeholders involving the media so as to address some of the key issues that the NCPB are in their agenda. One of them, as she has pointed out, is matters teenage pregnancy, where Dr. Mohammed Sheikh, who is the DG or the Director General of NCPD, is talking about the steering committee that has been formed to look into that matter. Of course, COVID-19 did aggravate the situation, so that we may look into teenage pregnancies and how we can be able to help them, of course, trying as much as possible not to add on the issues that we have when it comes to teenage pregnancies. And also they're talking about engaging more the youth so that we do not lose the potential that the youth have. And he has talked about the youth will be getting life skills, also the right and technical issues when it comes to addressing their day-to-day life, and when it comes to addressing the key issue in Kenya, that is joblessness. Thank you so much, Kamche. We will be getting back in our subsequent bulletin with a much comprehensive report on the same. But back in studio, we are also following up on some of the issues or the day's events. We're expecting the Kenya Kwanza Nairobi tour. We also have the IEBC in the next couple of minutes, around 30 minutes or so. IEBC CEO will be sworn in today. And also the National Council for Population and Development will continue with that meeting with the Media Council and other stakeholders at the Pan-Afric Hotel. Back in studio, we are talking about matters devolution, and talking about devolution, a lot can be talked about, but the government on Monday did start an ambitious program to map up assets, properties that the county government, in the defunct local governments, so that those assets and properties can be transferred to the national government, and some will be transferred to county governments. Some things that, of course, the chairman here has noted is that some of the properties are in civilian hands, and they are ready in the next couple of months. 4 months, yes? 4 months.
The next 4 months.
That will be addressed so that all the assets that the government has are back into Kenyans' hands. Indeed, the last time we were talking about, we were trying to brush up on some of the things that you are doing to ensure that the process moves smoothly. And you pointed out some of the challenges being some of the resistance. Of course, there has to be a lot of resistance because some of the assets and land are actually in civilian hands.
True.
Is it from the exercise, what you have already started for the last, this is the third day, right?
Yes.
Have you witnessed the problem? Which counties are the
one
first?
of the counties that has a challenge, we are addressing it, is Meru, where the governor has given an order that there should be no engagement between the evaluation committee and the teams that have come from Nairobi, that are coordinated by the State Department of Devolution and IGRTC to undertake the evaluation. He says this is a political season, and the electorate may, and his rivals may construe that exercise like it is a part of land grabbing. But I think that is a misplaced excuse, because Council of Governors has been participating with us, particularly the chairman of planning, lands and planning, physical planning, has been on board throughout. The Secretariat of Council of Governors has been on board throughout. They have been participating, even within as we develop the Gazette notice, the framework. So this delay, these challenges and the excuses will not help. In fact, there is no one county that will be left unvalued, because in the August transition, the law then will be flouted, because what will the county secretary be presenting in the assumption of governor office? And there is a clause, there is a legal requirement that the county secretary establish an assets register as a requirement under the assumption of Office of County Governors Act 2019 as a transitional prerequisite. So it is a legal requirement we cannot run away from. unless we want to flout the law. And since we are here to cultivate harmonious relationship, we are also here to be able to safeguard public resources. We are here to ensure that we deliver services. Then we should not have any objections, and we have already started the engagement of the governor for Meru through the Council of Governors chair, His Excellency Wabora, so that then we can have the exercise continuing. We cannot afford to stop.
Indeed. And we are looking at the report. After the report is written, it will be submitted to IEBC for verification?
No, to IBEC.
IBEC.
Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council for approval, for noting and approval, and then transmitted again to Summit. After Summit's approval and adoption, then IGRTC will be mandated by the Summit as the Secretariat to give the National Land Commission, the State Department for Lands and Planning, all those documentations, so that then county to county specific, the National Land Commission, which is charged constitutionally to administer and manage public land for and on behalf of the national government and the county governments, then will be able to undertake the transfer documentation.
In the 3 days, have you noticed some land or properties that have been seized by unscrupulous individuals?
No, not as yet.
Not yet.
Because what we did was, as I mentioned, the teams are in the counties, 26 counties, phase 1, and they did the first inception meetings. They did the mapping of the areas. For example, I did go to Machakos yesterday, and the inception meeting took cognizance of the fact that we have 8 sub-counties in Machakos, and therefore the team of 15 will have to divide itself into 3, so that they are able now to undertake that exercise within the next 3 weeks. So respective teams in the 26 counties are scheduled. The first day inception meeting, and the scheduled planning meeting, and then today they are expected to go out. Although by yesterday, the Rakaniri County was already valuing vehicles and the other aspects. So it is the speed of every county, of respective county evaluation committee that is now at hand. But we have any challenges as the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, as well as the Principal Secretary for Devolution. We are at hand to be able to address any emerging challenges.
Yeah. And we are in an election year, and in the next less than 150 days, we will be at the polls. And you as IGRTC, you are planning to be done by the same month. Will the elections...
Our exercise is ending in May.
In May?
The evaluation. And therefore, by that time, we should have submitted respective registers to Summit and IBEC. And upon the approval, we give it to National Land Commission. Why? Because the asset register by the county secretary shall be presented to the incoming governor. Whether it's a governor who was there and he's continuing, or an entirely new governor who's been elected, then that has to be presented. And we cannot therefore afford to be part of legal flouting. We cannot allow that, because we, IGRTC and the interagency, National Steering Committee, we are charged to prepare the evaluation reports and ensure that the National Land Commission shall be able to undertake the transfer, have the registers in every county by the first week of August, so that then that becomes part of the documentations to be handed over to the new administration. So we are running back to back, time bound, but we are focused, and we have the teams. And the 2 phases, the second phase of 21 counties starts in 15th of April to mid of May. And then after that, compilation. As I said, the technology allows prompt development of the report. It is just compiling and submission to the Summit and also IBEC.
Talking of incoming governments, we will be having a new government in the 47 counties, and even the national government in less than 150 days. The pending bills. What happens to the pending bills?
There has been an ongoing challenge and conversation. There is an element of blame here and there. 2 levels of government keep blaming each other. Counties talk about the national government not releasing resources, shareable revenue in time. National government says there is no commitment by the county governments to pay. In November of 2019, the current Cabinet Secretary for Treasury wrote to 11 counties which had pending bills of as early as 2013 unpaid.
Since 2013?
Yes. And he flagged them out and he told them Kiambu was one, Kakamega, I remember Narok and Garissa. And he told them, among others, he told them that we will not give you any share of revenue in the next quarter unless you give us a schedule of commitment on how you're going to settle this. And that will be signed by the governor in front of the, so that we see now we are already bankrupting the local businesses. We are affecting also public accounting systems because we have pending bills. You continue procuring, yet you are accumulating bills. And therefore, we must put a stop to this. And they gave their schedules. But no sooner had they been allocated the resources, they went back to bad manners. Today, the same counties, and even a bigger number of the counties, have pending bills. I know the issue of which is a pending bill and which is not. When you commit, of course, it becomes a commitment that you have to pay. When I deliver a service, tires, petroleum products, stationery, I grade a road, you have already commissioned me, and you are taking political credit, but you are not paying. And it was in your budget. So what happened between allocating me the work, commissioning the work, me undertaking the work, and paying? So there is a challenge of course with the counties. The issue surrounding the accountability, their budgets, and then the payments. There is a challenge. I think basically I would say it's an issue of accountability. The commitment, because you cannot commit 5 kilometers grading, and the money is in the budget. You cannot also, even the money of the given grants by the World Bank on a program we call KUSIP, Kenya Urban Support Program, where the drainages, the street lighting, development of markets, all that, and yet as a World Bank grant, you are not able to account. You are not able to pay the business community. We are bankrupting them. They run to the bank, they take loans, they go for overdrafts with the hope that because this is a World Bank project, then it will have a turnaround. So I will have not suffer any. People are being auctioned. It is very sad. And the people who are being auctioned are the local community, business community that we need to support. Counties came to support hubs of economic development. Part of that economic development is supporting the local business community. So when a business person goes to bank, gets a loan, comes and services the government, supplies tires, supplies, grades a road, and then you cannot pay, usually. I think that is beyond even comprehension in terms of,
As the chairman, we have seen this back and forth when it comes to pending bills each and every year. And all those who have not been paid by counties are always disgruntled. Even others have decided not to do any business with the counties. Do you think perhaps legislation can assist? Because this is a recurring problem each and every year.
No, it is not the issue of registration. We have all the laws. When you are undertaking a tender, when you are undertaking, you are advertising a tender, you must have resources. There was a circular from Treasury and even Head of Public Service that do not undertake any procurement unless you have money in your budget, unless you have the resources to undertake that. More importantly, the governors know the budget that they have. Their respective county executive committee member responsible for roads, responsible for finance, responsible for trade, for markets. So they know that we have this money. They advertise for Gatuanyaga market. They advertise for Kuisero market. When the businessman goes to the bank, says, I'm bidding for this, yes, you have the capacity, you have the proper class 3 or class CA, National Construction Authority class, and you meet all the requirements. You are awarded the tender. Then the money somehow disappears from the budget. Upon you completing, you are no longer, maybe you are paid one certificate. The other 3, you are never paid. So you are put in a quadra, you are put in a very awkward situation. You are, in fact, that participation of your business, of your activity, of constructing Kuisero market, or for example, or whichever market, Marava, or even Vihiga. It means that when you do that, Nyamasaria market, when you do that, then the bank comes for your own assets. Others that you are not even involved, you go even bankrupt in your family. It is very, I don't know, we would say inhuman. Because the money was in the budget, the blame game is not warranted. Because whatever you commit should have the resources. You cannot say, I want to go to Mombasa today, and you have no money. Ukifika mtito wa ndani unasema, conductor sikuwa na pesa. I did not have the money.
Yes.
It would be hypocritical.
Yes.
It would be like you are not offering the honest leadership that you are supposed to.
So the buck stops with the leadership of the county government.
Precisely. Because they cannot blame my CEC for finance. They cannot blame my CEO for finance. Squarely, the buck stops with them. All
right. Now, you took over from the Transition Authority.
Yes.
Of course, there are some remnants of duties that you took over. And their mandate is complete. When will your mandate be completed, and what are some of the mandates you took over from the Transition Authority? One
of them is the aspects of transfer of functions. The second one is this one of assets. On transfer of functions, we only have. What happened, I want to educate Kenyans, is that we got what we call the Big Bang. The pioneer governors demanded from the national government, His Excellency the President, in the first summit, that they want all the functions allocated under Schedule 4, Part 2, 14 functions, be devolved automatically. And the President ascended to that, and the Transition Authority did a big bang. The Gazette Notice of August 2013 transferred all functions. But that was in flout. That was in contrary to the law of the transition to county governments that the Transition Authority was acting, Section 7, which talked about seamless transfer, where the recipient level of government, which in this case is the county governments, were to be ready legally in terms of legal infrastructure. They were supposed to be ready in terms of resources. They were supposed to be ready in terms of personnel, institutions, and structures. These were not in place, but the governors demanded. And thereafter, talked about the mantra FFF, finances follow functions. They were given the functions, but finances remained at treasury. Because there was no framework, there was no absorption. Today, up to date, the Office of the Controller of Budget talks about 56%, an average of 56% absorption of the budget. And yet we gave all the functions.
Yes.
The blame is both sides. Absorption, failure of full absorption by the county governments, but also failure by the national government to progressively, under Article 189, create capacity, create support systems to county governments to be able to take these functions and undertake them. The national government does not have citizens that it offers the services. Those citizens are in the counties. So there is no competition. It's the issue of complementarity, and that is where intergovernmental relations comes in. So in terms of functions, they were, all of them, devolved. They were transferred. What IGRTC has remaining is the libraries, which is in today's KARA, in this financial year 2022-2023 KARA, that is the County Allocation of Revenue Act of 2022-2023. Then we have the museums. The museums, we are working with the Office of the Attorney General for the gazettement of Gazette Notice that will transfer the museums. We'll be done with that. But that does not mean that we are over with the transfer of functions. It's a fluid or it's a dynamic sector.
So do you have a mandate like the Transition Authority that you'll have a couple of years and then you'll also give the baton to another commission or council?
No.
Yes, you're here to stay.
Ours, we are permanent insofar as insofar as devolution is there, because the two levels of government, in their very nature, are political entities. They are led by politicians, and therefore there would be friction where the interpretation of the law, the manner of leadership they offer, the aspect of the ambit in terms of how far can I go. There are also what we call overlapping functions. We call them concurrent. There are exclusive functions, 35 for the national government, and there are 14 for the county governments. But there are those, water is one of them, and health. But water is water environment are the ones that are more concurrent. For health, national government has the responsibility of health policy and referral hospitals. In terms of agriculture, it's the county governments that are supposed to undertake that. So in terms of functions, we only have those two remaining. But there is the aspect of either level of government can transfer. You know, we have a running issue. Nairobi Metropolitan Services.
Yes.
And the transfer of 4 functions by the county governor of Nairobi to the national government. Before August, that deed of transfer has to lapse because the incoming governor expects to inherit and to take over full mandate of a governor. So we have that issue. Now we IGRTC with other interagencies, the Attorney General, the State Department for Devolution, the governor current sitting in Nairobi, NMS itself, and the 4 functions that are being performed by the national government. We have to prepare the requisite reports. They are supposed to do that so that the financial status, the assets register, inventory, what projects are complete, what projects are running, what pending bills do we have, because they also are doing tendering.
Yes.
And they have tenders that are running. What litigations, they have also been taken to court, are pending. All that information is supposed to be ready before August so that, again, we retransfer and we seize the deed of transfer from operations. That is an interagency activity that should be driven by the summit, and IGRTC, as the secretary of the summit, is in consultation.
No. And now, looking at, you work closely with county governments, and we have witnessed a lot of wastages and a lot of corruption. How do we curb this? Because there are other issues that we have to deal with. We have to deal with, of course, ensuring devolution works. We have to deal with pending bills. We have to deal with county duties. How do we curb wastages in the first place?
How we curb wastages? The former MP for Mbere South, Reverend Honorable Mutava
Musimi, yes,
talked about auditing the constitution. That was 2015. But unfortunately, he was voted out in 2017. That has not been done. 2023, it will be 10 years of devolution. We have not audited. We have over 520 legislations that have been undertaken by the 11th and 12th parliaments in support of devolution and also other sectors across the country. The question would be, when are we going to audit the constitution? We know the cost, so that we know the cost. Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee is charged. When a transition authority was in existence, it only costed 5 sectors. But we have all these sectors that have been devolved. The 14 sectors are supposed to be quantified, costed, so that one function is known, it costs so much against the population of a county, and we allocate the money with that formula. That is to be undertaken by the Commission for Revenue Authority in conjunction with National Treasury and Council of Governors, Intergovernmental Relations Committee. But the Council of Governors, yes, it pushes for that. National Treasury refuses because of the challenge. It talks about allocation of shareable revenue, allocation of resources is dependent, of course, on the consolidated revenues that are audited for the last 3 years. Public wastage is the back of the leadership. It is the back of the leadership on the commitment that you are doing public good. Anybody in a position of responsibility, influence, accountability should exercise as such. I know it's a presumption. It does not happen. The other aspect is the citizen. The citizen must, Article 1, sovereignty of the citizen must be practical. It should not be assumed. When you surrender under Article 1, 2, no, under Article 2, where this government can exist, any government can exist directly. You can exercise this power directly through your elected leaders. So members of parliament, senators, they become lords instead of becoming servants. And therefore, the citizen again loses. So the citizen has to come up. Today, the County Government Act provides under Section 85 for the County Continuous Civic Education Committee. That is to be funded by the county government to provide the awareness so that when they take the budget down, people are able to understand. When they talk about project priorities, people are able to understand. No county has ever established that. Why? So it's an issue of leadership. There's no commitment. They don't want the electorate to know. If the electorate are aware, like those budget activities, they are most managed. Intergovernmental Relations Settlement Committee commissioned a study on public participation. And we found the threshold are sadly very low. They are tokenism, placating the legal requirements, state managing. You know, we go to this center and so and so.
Inflation.
Will talk. Njue will talk. Ocheng will talk. Mama Siombua will talk. But nobody else. You get? So we still manage the budget hearing, the public engagement, and we are back to office. And we implement the budget the best way we know.
And inflation.
Precisely. And you see, projects. That is why you see there are many bridges collapsing. A bridge of 8 million, and you know, others are collapsing. Many buildings are, all this is public wastage. The public also, we are the taxpayers.
You need to stand.
We must be able to come up. We must create. Where did the civil society go? Where did the faith-based organizations go? Why are they not creating progressive awareness, sensitization of the people? We talk about public participation in all thresholds, policy development, regulations, project prioritization, budget approvals.
Those are being circumvented.
PDPs. But you will find a PDP of a market, per development plan, advertised. No citizen knows.
Okay, how then do we harmonize the relationship so that we may make devolution work and be seen to work? Because as IGRTC, there's also Commission on Revenue Allocation, we have Council of Governors, some of the agencies that, and also Treasury, some of the agencies that can make devolution work and be seen to work.
We have, as I said, we have sector forums. What is a sector? Let me take an example of water sector. Water sector involves the cabinet secretary for water, the departments are involved, and the state agencies involved in water at the national level. IGRTC as the secretariat of that forum, and Council of Governors. Then the county executive committee member responsible in every county, 47 of them, they come. And in that forum, we harmonize policy, we harmonize regulations, we give priorities of the sector, we resolve any disputes. So we enhance intergovernmental working together, harmony between the two levels of government. IBEC is one of the most effective and efficient intergovernmental forum. Why? All 47 county executive committee members responsible for finance come together. And under the chairmanship of the Deputy President, Intergovernmental Relations Participating and Council of Governors, we approve the budget and we resolve disputes. We also approve any regulations in relation to taxation and also in relation to budgeting. So that those forums, we have the IBEC, Intergovernmental Relations, Budget and Economic Council. We have the sectoral forums. We have the summit itself. We have the Council of Governors. We have Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Those are structures of intergovernmental relations where we cultivate relations for better service delivery. And
and of course, if those agencies do their mandate and the leadership of the county, then devolution will be seen to work. You've been at IRGTC for a while now. How can you rate devolution? Because in some counties it seems to be working, while others a little are lagging behind.
I would say, in general, devolution is a huge success. It is the biggest dividend that Kenyans got from 2010 Constitution. If you ask a resident of Mandera, with all those difficulties of the governor, who is the governor and who is not, the deputy becoming, if you ask Wajir, if you ask Wajir resident that let us take back the government to Nairobi, they'll fight. Why? The amount of resources, shareable revenue they have received since in 2013 is tenfold what they got since independence. So devolution means a lot. They can now see tarmac, they can now see electricity, they can see health centers moving, they can now get boreholes to water their livestock. There is support that is coming on bursary, education, ECDs, vocational training. Devolution is a huge success. It has transformed lives. Though there is that element now of the pending bills. But in terms of transforming, we have 47 county governments. We have 47 assemblies. We have progressively since 2013 had structures of government. We have county treasuries that are operational. During the pandemic, the summit worked with the Council of Governors and the Minister responsible for health to ensure that every county has a bed capacity of 300. So progressive capacity building, especially in respective sectors. There are reforms you can see today in tea, coffee, pyrethrum, cotton. We are making progress. There are also there are obviously those challenges: corruption, misappropriation of funds, pending bills, poor leadership, and non-accountability. The political turfs where they want to impeach the governor and all that. Yeah, and others that flout the procedural legal stages that are supposed to be done. For example, level 6 hospitals are supposed to be under the national government. But Nyeri has Othaya, level 6. Kiambu has the one for Kenyatta University Referral and Teaching Hospital. Then Kakamega was doing one. It has stalled. It has spent 6 billion so far. It wants to transfer that incomplete facility to national government. What happens to the 6 billion, which was shareable revenue for Kakamega residents?
Yes.
Who will compensate them? Those are the issues that IRGC has to grapple with. Today, NMS has done 15 health facilities during the time that the 2 years that they were given the deed of transfer for Nairobi. And it has done a lot of opening up of link roads, opening up and street lights and everything, creating security, safety, non-motorable areas, enhance the supply of water and all that. Proper planning, because the docket of planning and lands is under them. But what happens to those assets? Sustainability, the long term, when they are no longer in operation. Can NMS become a state agency, rather a county agency for that? Just like how Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company is an agency of the county government of Nairobi. Yes. Can we enact law? That is the responsibility of the county assembly. We can help them think through, because the deed of transfer may lapse, but the efficiency, the focus, the purpose, the planning, the utilization of the resources is more focused and appropriate by the NMS. But how then do we sustain that? Okay.
In 10 seconds, what more can be done to actualize devolution? In 10 seconds, as we wind up.
I think that what can be done is more accountability. All levels.
Accountability.
All levels.
Okay. Indeed.
All levels.
Thank you.
I feel responsible. The Mwananchi feels responsible and asks the right question. The leader, governor, the president, the cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, everybody in a position of influence becomes accountable and feels patriotic enough to serve the country.
Thank you so much. That has been John Mborogo, who is the chairman of Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, IGRTC. They are shedding more light when it comes to matters devolution, pending bills, and harmonizing the operations, especially in counties. Keyword is accountability. You also, as a voter, you need to be asking the right questions so that you ensure that all our funds and devolution does work. Indeed, that's where we put a cap on this discussion. But don't go away. We are getting into matters politics, and I can see my panel of experts standing by so that we may actualize that discussion. We will be right back after these messages.
Kitwek FM, Kegosin.
Are we seeing a decrease, a decline with as far as burden is concerned, or we are still seeing more cases of TB?
In 2020, I think we estimated to have about 139,000 cases of TB. That would mean every single day there's 90 people dying from TB. It would mean a bus of 60-seater bus crashing every day.
What are some of the possible complications if TB is detected late?
TB is curable, so come seek treatment, you will get cured.
Trying to say goodbye to my poor baby. Mommy will be joining you soon. Mommy will join you.
Could you just calm down?
Give me my daughter back! Give me my daughter back! Give her back!
Your daughter's death was the result of your negligence as a mother. How could you blame us for that?
Huyu mtoto sitaki atoke kwa hii nyumba bila ya ruhusa yangu.
Mimi lakini mbona umenuna? Kwa nini hujapenda?
Muona babake Maya?
Sasa huyu anakuja kutugombeza sisi kuhusu bingu. Yeye ndo amelala na yeye ama ni sisi?
I need you to testify. Sorry, I cannot do it.
Usipoishughulikia upesi itakuua.
Differently abled, differently.
We are very privileged to announce that the next cohort of Innovate Now, which is the accelerator program, is officially launched, and we are receiving applications.
Many people lose sight, they somehow give up in life, so we take them through an intensive program of guidance and counseling.
Me losing sight, it came as a result of the impact I had. So it resulted to something we call a retina detachment.
We're differently abled. differently.
Welcome back, and just in case you've just joined us, this is KBC News Check, and on the second hour we are talking about matters politics. A lot has happened and transpired in the last, let's say, 6 days or so. Saturday it was Azimio's Raila Odinga being given the mandate to seek the top seat. Yesterday it was Deputy President Dr. William Ruto's day, because actually yesterday was very instrumental because he severed the ties, the Jubilee ties, and now he is in UDA, and he actually got the blessing of the delegates to contest for the top seat. A lot has also happened in the political spheres when it comes to matters coalition, and perhaps the newest will be the IEBC swearing in of the CEO, and the event, according to the program, was supposed to be taking place any moment now, and we have our reporter on the ground who will be keeping us afloat on that, because the CEO is supposed to be sworn in by Martha Koome, who is the Chief Justice, any moment from now at the Supreme Court. Welcome back. We have Charles Omanga, who is a governance expert and also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Charles, karibu sana.
Thank you.
The last time we were with you was during the LSK elections.
Yes, during LSK elections.
Yes, and we had an interview before we knew who was going to be president. Now you have a new president.
Yes,
he has already
course.
taken office. We were with him, I think, the day before yesterday.
Yeah.
And the elections themselves, the turnout, the new office bearers. What do you make of it? You are an officer of the court.
I think all those who managed to get opportunity to serve us with the president, Eric Theuri, congratulations, and the entire council members that were elected with him. We hope, and actually we believe that they are all equal to the task, and they will really ensure that all the issues of membership are well taken care of, and also in terms of relationship with other institutions of governance in this country.
Well, the turnout was so low, 5,000 people, and you have an 18,000 members strong?
Yeah, and then the turnout was quite disappointing, and I don't know why. I think maybe the recent wrangles, and now people think maybe the general membership, actually there is quite a constituency that really felt that there is no need. But at least we thank for those who turned up and exercised their democratic right. It is a very, very important event in the calendar of the members of the Law Society of Kenya.
Yeah, and we hope, of course, the new office bearers will actually return the fire and the glory that is LSK, because it does a good job being the watchdog for Kenyans.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Away from that, IEBC new CEO is being sworn in any moment from now. Less than 150 days.
Yeah.
And you do remember Krieger had talked about IEBC and preparedness. We're supposed to have done everything. The commission should have been well constituted even before an year to the elections. Do you think it's something that may cause jitters?
I think maybe from some quarters it may, but I think from where I sit, election is an entire process, and the CEO, the office of the CEO doesn't work in isolation. There is a secretariat that actually runs day-to-day activities of the commission, and therefore I believe, and the new CEO, Mr. Mohamed Marjan, is equal to the task because he has been with the commission. So I don't really think there is something new that might not hinder him from hitting the ground running immediately upon taking the oath of office that might take place in the next few minutes. So I think I don't really think there is something that has not been done. I think there is the issue of procurement and awarding of the tender for the printing of the ballots. There is something that is still yet to be concluded. But I believe because the Secretariat has been in office, and I think they have been trying to ensure that ensuring whatever is to do with election preparedness is in place. I think this is a challenge. It is not only unique with Kenya, even though the Kriegler actually indeed did recommend that IEBC and the entire Secretariat should always be in place actually a year before the date of elections. But I think because we had the Secretariat back in office, so I think everything is in place.
And still on IEBC, there are talks that they will introduce a bill in Parliament that will bar candidates who lose during the party primaries or the nominations from vying as independent candidates. What do you think of it?
I don't think that would be a well-thought idea, owing to the current political environment and the issues of the various political parties and the apprehension on the issues of nominations. We always witnessed before our political party primaries, the nomination processes have always resulted into a lot of disappointment for some candidates, and actually it is a very, very key process. Therefore, in trying to introduce a bill right now would be like it's a knee-jerk reaction, and whatever intention the Commission has, actually more importantly at this point in time, less than 150 days to the general elections, I don't think it is something that would be actually tenable. Because if you are trying, you know, the issue, this is a democratic process, and actually I do believe that for a law to be passed or a bill, there must be something they're trying to cure. So I don't really think the question of party hopping has already been dealt with, and this one trying now to bar someone who has lost from the primaries to run as an independent. The IEBC has their calendar. There is those deadlines when the independent candidates have to submit their symbols and they should resign from various political parties. So at least that timelines and whatever is currently in place is enough. It's enough safeguard. So I don't really think it would be necessary and or for any benefit to try to bring certain legislations that would really interfere with the electoral process coming from the Commission itself. I don't really think so.
Other than time, because IEBC is really rushing and working against time, other than time, would you support that notion that the moment you lose the party primaries, it's game shot for you, no party hopping? It would curb party hopping?
I think I would also think I would look at it from both sides, because one, I think party hopping also always bring a lot of disruptions. But again, apart from the remedies that we have from the political parties, the internal party dispute resolution mechanism, the political parties tribunal, and even the courts, I think the timeline would not really help much when someone really want to pursue a legal process as to ensure that whatever injustice that might be occasioned in the entire process of nomination would really be sufficient. So I think the timing is what is of concern to me, because if you really want to, because you see now there is a lot of people are already upbeat. The candidates, those who want to present themselves for election for various political positions, are already organizing themselves. And then if you try to bring a bill right now, and maybe a change in legislation or whatever clause that they really want to amend, and to what effect and to what end, that has not really been explained. Because you see now there would be the element of public participation. So what time does the IEBC have? They also have a lot of things on their plate. Must be continuous civic education. They must try to educate voters, that those who have not really understood the entire process and the new amendment that came into force the other day. So at least they really have a lot of things to do other than amendment of the legislations. So at least for now, because based on this time, I don't really think it would be actually reasonable from where I sit.
And as a governance expert, you did watch yesterday's coronation of the Deputy President to fly the UDA flag during the 2022 succession politics, which are less than 150 days. What do you make of his speech? He did tour into President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government, the same government that he is still working in.
I think the speech in its entirety, actually, he tried to bring on quite a number of issues. There are certain 5-point agenda, issues of economy, issues of state institutions, and even the relationship between the people and the institutions.
Okay, let me just interject there. First of all, let's have a clip of what the DP did talk about yesterday so that we may be abreast with what we exactly are touching on. Let's first of all listen to DP Ruto yesterday during the UDA National Delegates Conference.
I accept your nomination to be the United Democratic Alliance party candidate in this year's presidential election with gratitude to the Almighty God, recognition of the significance of this moment, and an acknowledgement of the work remaining and the road ahead to that day that we all look forward to. The next phase of our transformation was going to be the Big Four agenda, which would leverage these foundational undertakings to ensure that the economic and social rights of Kenyans would be actualized by creating jobs for millions of young people out of school, out of college, and out of our universities. Agriculture will be on the ballot in this election. Our competitors are the masters of monopolies. They are the agents of conflict of interest. They are the agents of state capture. And we must free this country and our agriculture from cartels and brokers. What is on the ballot is either Kenya moving forward into prosperity or Kenya regressing into tyranny and poverty. The choice is as clear as day is from the night. They have told us they will bring back the BBI monster because they want to create an imperial presidency. They want a president who controls the judiciary using the ombudsman. This country will change. On our first day, we will free the DCI. We will free the KRA from state capture.
That's just an extract of what DP Ruto talked about yesterday when he was accepting the nomination for the presidential candidate for the United Democratic Alliance. Charles, you've had some scathing attacks there, freeing the DCIs, talking about the Kenya Revenue Authority, which is an autonomous body, and talking about the Big Four agenda. Some of the things that he has talked about state capture. That speech, as you can see, is talking about these people want to return or to come back as imperial presidents and the BBI itself. What do you make of the speech?
I think the speech talked about a raft of issues, both positive and there is both negative part of it. But the most intriguing fact is that the deputy president is still and is the deputy president of the Independent Republic of Kenya. So what is intriguing is that the fact that he is part of this government. And indeed, if you watch, there was a comment he made that it is the president that requested him that he take a marginal role because he want to work on his legacy alone. So that one we do not know. It is not a verified fact. But what is, I don't know what is this nature of state capture, because again, these are independent institutions, and we do believe that whenever they are discharging their mandate, they discharge their mandate according to the law, the rules and the constitution of Kenya. But again, you know, it is a political season, so sometimes you can never underrate or wish away the political side of all these things. But actually, if you look at this speech entirely, actually, indeed, he tried to point about certain issues that really affect Kenya. He talked about the economy, about the agriculture, about the issues of job creation. So actually, entirely, he was trying to make appeal to the electorates and actually trying to really talk about certain things that really ails our economy. But the most challenging part of it is that the hard-hitting statement on the very government that he serves.
Yes.
Even as he tells us that he took a marginal role and upon the request of His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, but actually that is more intriguing.
That's more political
yes.
than that. And what do you make? He's talking about the same government that he's still in. When you talk about the good things, he's talking about we've made the roads, we have connected power, we have done so much. But when you talk about the ills of the government that he's still in, he wants to stand back.
I think what the Deputy President is telling us, His Excellency William Ruto, is that quite a number of things, you know, the government, the way government works, you cannot wake up today and make a road and make a highway. I think these are certain things, there must be a planning phase of it, and that is how these things are designed. So what he's trying to tell and inform Kenyans is that probably the things that he's talking about, the electricity and the roads and the technical institutions, are things that they planned when they were during their first term, because there are certain roads he's trying to tell us those are the things that they planned together, and he was part of it. And then he's trying to tell us that during this now second phase, where after the handshake, the period will be from 2018, that there is nothing much that has really happened. The issues, and he has talked about, and he has belabored about the point about the collapse of the Big Four agenda, the issues of manufacturing, issues of agriculture, and issues of food security, that those, and the issue of job creation, those are the issues that have not been made. And actually trying to put a blame to it on the same the constitutional amendment bill, the BBI project. So he has tried to actually explain himself, whether the truth or the in it or whatever is not true. That one is now upon to Kenyans to decide, because we are a very vigilant population, and we have a very educated populace that we really have to interrogate about certain of these things that are being mentioned from the politicians.
And of course, we're gonna hear a lot before August the 9th. But looking at coalition, he is in Kenya Kwanza, and Raila is in Azimio. We've had spats when it comes to coalition. A lot of parties have lawyers or advocates as their secretary general because they want to be versant with each and every fine print that is signed on the dotted line. But looking at what we had yesterday when it comes to Kalonzo Musyoka and signing a deal as Oka, what is contained in these coalition documents? Because looking at NASA, they said that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga backtracked on what they had discussed as NASA. That is why they moved away from NASA and formed OCA. But they never sought any legal redress. And all these are deposited with the Register of Political Parties.
I think so far, because even the Azimio OCA coalition agreement is yet to be deposited and to be registered formally by with the Register of the Political Parties. Either the side of Kenya Kwanza also, they are yet to sign their coalition agreement so that we know what kind of arrangement they have. But at least it is rumored, because I've not had the benefit of looking at whatever Azimio signed the other day during the NDC, but it's rumored that there is a question of creation of a position of 3 prime ministers and the deputy presidency, and there was that part of that the Azimio has already endorsed Raila Odinga as the presidential candidate, and now either the deputy president would come either from Jubilee or OCA. So those are just the highlights of what is maybe could be contained. Those, I think, maybe those are subject to modification or changes because it is yet to be formally registered and deposited by the register of political parties. But going back to what the Kalonzo said, you know, we have been a country, we have a lot of political betrayals. It didn't start, there was a question of MOU that Raila signed with Kibaki before. We had a betrayal when Raila dissolved his NDP and joined President Moi Kanu during 1997, which he felt that he was betrayed when Moi decided Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta toss in 2002. That led to massive walkout or fallout, and many party bigwigs walked out. Then there was all those alliances has been there before, the PNU, GNU, NAK alliance. We have NASA also, and then you see now what Kalonzo is saying, that they agreed, and that one at least we have benefit of reading that there was a clause there saying whether they win the presidency or not. So I think that is the clause that His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka was really trying to rely on. But again, now we do not know, and even as an advocate, I don't think that the agreement would have survived the NASA coalition, because they were running under NASA coalition, and the document talked about NASA. So the moment that the NASA was dissolved, I think any other thing, any interest in it, died with it. So it could not that one particular agreement would have survived the dissolution of NASA. Yes.
And still on coalitions, we've talked about betrayals from since 2002 and perhaps even earlier.
Yes.
And they always lament after and saying that in this year we say this and this. Why don't they go back to the documents? If it's legally binding, then somebody can seek redress. They just talk about it in 2002, in 2007 we had the same thing, in 2013, in 2017 as well.
I think even
Instead of
before,
just complaining.
I think even before going to the binding effects of the coalition, you know, the issues of coalitions and what even birthed coalitions, it started even during pre-independence. You can remember during the time of Ferdinand Cavendish when he was not happy about the results of the Lancaster House meeting. It came to again Lord Delamere with this Reform Party that was representing the white settler elite. There was again a coalition there, and then there was also that the one for Mackinnons of the Imperial British East Africa Company. So there has been a lot of betrayal in terms of coalition and what actually prompted the coalition building. So I think what is happening, and that is why we have really tried to create and empower the office of the Registrar of Political Parties, because some of these agreements are that do not really have a legal binding effect if there is no that intention that actually this is what it should be. That is why now with the laws have changed, and actually we have a very, very strong office of the Register of Political Parties. That is why certain this kind of coalition agreements must be duly registered and actually deposited, so that in case of any violations, actually they have a document to refer to. But actually, because some of these arrangements are always political, so they are always treated like this kind of agreements, they are always treated like a piece of historical subjective literature that would really have no basis of legality. So that is why actually as a nation, and that is why we really need a lot of sanity in terms of how our political engagement, so that we have that element of trust.
Yes.
The element of trust, you know, the moment you have entered into agreement, it is a gentleman's agreement. A gentleman's agreement shall forever and should remain gentle, as it is, as in every sense of the word. Therefore, the nature of the politics of deceit, when an individual is deceitful, that is what brings what we call the trust deficit. Because if I enter into agreement with you now, with my eyes wide open, there is no need whatsoever for me to renege on it, unless there is certain circumstances that have just emerged or emerging issues that will really render the agreement unenforceable before the courts of law. Yes.
And small parties in these coalitions that we see, and they bound to get the short end of the stick, because we are looking at the numbers as well.
I don't really think that most of them will have to get, because the government also, the way the government functions, it is not just the way the political parties function. Therefore, that is why sometimes once someone gets into office is when now they realize, this one was actually untenable. And more importantly, you see, we have had even Kalonzo Musyoka Senior Counsel complaining that actually they have not really understood what is in the contents of what they signed. So imagine if Wiper, Democratic Alliance, and OCA can say that they have not really understood, they will still go back to interrogate in fine print what really it contains. Yes. So you can imagine what these small parties, what really awaits them. And actually, you know, most of the Secretary General of these political parties are advocates of the High Court or lawyers for that matter. And I really believe that there should be sufficient time. That is why when Honorable Martha Karua said the other day before they signed the AUKA that they really need to time, because some of this document, there's a lot of clauses included, there is a lot of things, there is a lot of duties and responsibilities and commitments into this. That is why there is no need for a rush. The people should really give themselves sufficient time to actually understand, so that in any event that any party or any tries to come out and try to put blame on the other people, or lack of vigilance, or lack of being, you know, meticulous with the whole thing, you honestly, you know, so Kenyans are left wondering that if someone can sign a document, it means that he is coerced or she's coerced, or he is signing under duress, because you can never sign a document that you've not understood. Yes. And it is a document that is binding and putting you into a coalition, and which actually is hoping to form the next government. So it means all those arrangements, or those whom you represent, because these political parties or these individuals, there is a constituency that they represent, and those constituencies have a lot of anticipation. They really want, they have a lot of trust that whatever will come out of this arrangement is something that would be beneficial to them. It's something that would ensure there is enough medicine in hospital. They will ensure that the issues of infrastructure are sorted out, the issues of taxes are sorted out, the issue of joblessness is sorted out, the issue of agriculture. So the moment that a leader would really enter into, it would mean it would be it is a serious betrayal in terms of the electors and the individuals that such parties or coalition represent.
Indeed, and a lot of Kenyans are waiting to see how the coalition will shape up as we wait for that party primaries in the next 3 weeks or so. And some have said that this is the best test, or litmus test or dress rehearsal for that matter, for the 2022 succession politics. A lot of enemies, a lot of friends. How is it going to pan out? At the end of the day, they haven't signed the coalition's documents as yet.
I think that is the biggest elephant in the room for both sides, for both One Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio Oka, as His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo puts it. And actually, you see, they say that they have not really formalized the arrangements, because the party primaries is really what, because I had His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka the other day before he flew to their rally in Tharaka Nithi, saying that he wouldn't expect that the ODM would field candidates in his Ukambani backyard. He said it in live television, you know. So you can imagine, because now if they do not agree on joint primaries, and then all these individual parties would field candidates individually, and that is why this coalition agreement, we saw the other parties, UDF, UPIA, signing within the coalition itself. They signed coalition also agreement with the Jubilee Party. So you'd really wonder, and that one will actually leave a lot to be desired. Yes. So as against a certain coalition that actually would really have a certain party or a number of parties based on how they will really agree. Because if these coalition agreements or this arrangement do not really spell out the mode of primaries and which areas and who to failed candidates, who not to failed, actually this is what is really going to be the greatest doing for either of the coalitions. So I think party primaries is something that people must really watch keenly, and it will determine from the party primaries whichever coalition that would conduct a successful primaries. I can assure you without any doubt that such party would be really poised to win the general election. But a coalition that would really have a lot of misunderstandings and disagreements and cases and over these party primaries would really have it rough in the August elections. So I think they must really ensure that the nomination process would be that one that is accountable, and it should be free and fair, and without any interference. Let the candidates talk to people, whichever party, and if I were to advise them, more importantly, the biggest coalition with quite a number of political parties, they really have to do mapping. If they don't do mapping that each and every place, then it would mean the main election itself, when these candidates will run against another candidate from a coalition where there is these other parties, it means they will be giving a due advantage to the other coalition.
And indeed, quite a mystery and a headache, because looking at the documents that have to be deposited with the registrar of political parties, Jubilee did sign a pact with some parties.
Yeah, within the Azimio coalition,
within the coalition, and they're still into an alliance with the likes of ODM. Does that bring a lot of headache? Because looking at the register of political parties, he has to ensure that whatever these guys have agreed on is followed to the letter, so that we may avoid the recurrent betrayal that we have witnessed when it comes to coalitions.
I think, first of all, the law do not permit a political party to belong to two coalitions at one time. And actually that one, I think that is what informed the OCA team, where when they signed the agreement, they allowed the individual parties that they are free to negotiate, and at whatever time one feels that he has found another coalition that is really best suited with their manifestos and their intentions, then one is free to leave. Because you remember, KANU, even as we speak, is still having a coalition arrangement with the Jubilee Party. So that really posed a challenge. So that is why you see even formalization, the process of formalizing this OCA or Azimio or whichever Kenya Kwanza coalition, if whichever party that have within those arrangements, would really be a headache. Because actually, if the law, first of all, do not permit you to be belonging to coalition at one time, then it means there is certain coalition that they would have to resign, and then that process of resigning and then joining a fresh coalition, and with who? That one again will bring some internal sibling rivalry within a certain particular coalition. So they have to really be very, very legally conscious as to what would be the legal effect of those resultant actions. Yes.
And as we wait to see how that pans out, because it's a good thing that as an advocate you've put it plainly that you cannot belong to two coalitions. We have KANU in OCA, and of course we have OCA that is of course in Azimio. Let's see how that pans out. But I want us to look at the international community. But before we do that, let me just check 2 or 3. Kibra Makina tuned, that is Florence Muluya. Abdorazak, good vibes, watching live from Kericho, that is Kaldit. Doris Kutuyu, say you're watching from Lukume Market, West Cabras. Young Bisaka, watching from Voi. Of course, I will touch on others as we move on. I also see Josephine is also watching, said interviews on TV, very nice, especially the one Kiwana John Burugu. Thank you so much for all your comments and keep tuned in. We have the international community. As we speak, diaspora remittances have now overtaken all the remittances in Kenya, and also as a foreign earner. And I do remember in 2013, just before the elections, the international community did talk about choices have consequences. They referred to President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto in regards to the ICC cases. They didn't want these two to be leading the country. And indeed, when they say choices have consequences, we also feel when those buttons are pressed. We have seen Deputy President William Ruto on a shuttle diplomacy to America and the UK. We have also seen Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. He is also abroad. The international community in politics and elections. What exactly is their play in here? Because looking at the economy, they have better economies, so they are like the big brother that we never had as Kenya.
I think it is very, very important for any presidential candidate to actually really try that kind of diplomatic interaction, because these big brothers have a lot of investments and in this country, and they have a lot of interest. Kenya is a bit more strategic for them in terms of engagement with the Middle East. There is a lot of security bilateral agreements on security, on economic relations, on trade, quite a number of bilateral arrangements as regards to economy, security, peace and security. So more importantly, so that is why it is important for each and every individual that really thinks that you want to ascend to being the CEO of this country must actually also try to engage and try to sell out themselves and what kind of agenda do they have and what do they stand for, so that in any event there is any disagreement or whatever nature, they would be able to know to pick among themselves who will really be represent their interests, because this is about interest anyway, because not really about the investments, but whoever assumes that office, there must be some kind of relations and a common understanding. So that is why this kind of subtle diplomacy that is happening. The Honourable Prime Minister is in the UK. Deputy President was in the UK the other week. He was into the US. I think trying to lobby and trying to appeal also. Actually, it is not only to the big brothers, but also to voters in the diaspora. This time the voters, the diaspora are going to vote. And actually there is even a matter before the court in terms of that the time that was given for the diaspora registration was not sufficient, and then maybe the earlier on even the court made a pronouncement that whoever is in diaspora can only even register with this ID. There was a question, you must have passport. So there was a lot of bottlenecks. So actually for presidential candidate to go in those countries, I also believe that they are also trying to appeal to the diaspora constituency.
And in 2013 they were not able to influence, despite the fact that they had mentioned that choices have consequences. They did not influence the outcome of the presidential election. Do you think that it will be the same case this time around?
Of course, because those who really determine the election are Kenyans, those who go to the polling booth and deposit their ballots there. So if the Kenyans decided as they did, there is nothing they can do, and that is why there is need for these candidates actually try to engage with them before. So whichever way Kenyans decide, then that is the way to go. They will not have any other choice but to go with the will of the Kenyans. So that is why those who make decisions, those who decide and determine who become the next CEO of this country are the voters and are Kenyans. So there is no any mystery, there is no any foreign power that you hear people peddling that, this country does not want this candidate, or this candidate is not the wanted with this, or this candidate does not have anyone. Those who matter in this kind of arrangement is the Kenyan voter. Yes. And
we are hoping that there will not be any foreign interference in the same. And still on the international community, they are bringing in a lot of money in the country. And as you say, there were some bottlenecks when it comes to the registration exercise. A few countries, not all the countries. Do you think that was something that IEBC should have looked into to ensure that all Kenyans living abroad are registered as voters, because their input is needed, and looking at the country, they are really supporting the economy?
Yeah, actually they have a lot of stake in the economy. That's why even the constitution actually, the people thought it wise that they must also be given an opportunity and they should also vote, and that is why we were of the opinion that actually they should be given sufficient time to register, because and the IEBC actually do not really have that enough financial outlay that would really ensure that every Kenyan in whichever part of the globe will have to be registered. Actually, I think they have mapped certain countries, not every individual in whichever country where they are that would really participate. But actually they have a big stake in the economy, the revenues that they send back here, actually the taxes, So I think we're going forward, because we cannot achieve each and everything within one stroke. So what we need to do, that actually those should be point of areas of improvements going forward, so that we ensure that IEBC is sufficiently funded. You remember the chairman of the IEBC, Mr. Chebukati, really lamented that they are underfunded. The finance that they have actually will not really be enough for them to actually carry even the continuous voter registration to its conclusion, you know. So some of these things, that is why we really need to see how best can we deal with this independent institutions in terms of financing, so that they can be free and they can be able to undertake their mandate without any hiccup as to the issues of financial.
And back home, NCIC did warn politicians, and the government did warn politicians about hate speech. And of course, NCIC has summoned the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in regards to some of the sentiments that he said a little while back. But every time there is just warning and summons, we are not seeing any action being taken against all those people. Some have cases dropped at the courts. We have less than 150 days to the general polls.
I think we must also recommend NCIC, because at least they are making strides. Before, we could not see certain big individuals or high-ranking individuals being summoned. So that alone in itself, we must really actually laud them for whatever the strides we are making. I told you that some of these institutions some of them are less than 10 years old. Some of them, they are just trying. These are certain institutions that were creation of the new constitution. And institutions always grow and develop with the time. And that is why we must also have very sound leaders that will have to ensure that we have proper legislation in place that will really give these institutions a biting teeth. That's why we said that the EACC must also have prosecutorial powers, so that they can really prosecute without having to rely on other arms of government or other institutions to do the same. That's why NCIC also must also be empowered, and we ensure that they are well equipped with all even the machines, the issues where they can be able to monitor what goes on where, so that they don't really rely on reported speech that so and so was here. They must also be actually ensure that they have all the necessary human resource and all the technical and manpower that is needed to help them and aid in their daily operations. But what we really have to, being a country that we've witnessed what we witnessed in post-election violence of 2007 and a bit of 2017, 2013, the 2013 you know, those kind of things. The politicians must be sensitive to a level that they know that each and everything that comes out of their mouth must not be such that will create animosity or will create anger on whichever side that feel agree with such comments. We are in a very, very volatile environment right now. The political atmosphere is highly charged, because each and every side, because the way the race is shaping, it is shaping towards two coalition or two-horse race between Raila Amolo Odinga and William Samoei Ruto. And actually, because there is even more NDCs that are to come, and there is more coalitions, there is still several parties. I've seen even the Green Congress Party will always NDC. We never know which side of the coalition they will join. So actually, it is something very, very sensitive, and it should be incumbent upon each and every individual, and even at the level political party. The leadership of each and every political party or coalitions parties must ensure, and they must also have their own internal mechanism how they talk to their aspirants. And I'm happy and glad that the various political parties are having those aspirants meetings. I would really urge and advise very respectfully that they must also have a session on trying to advise and tell whichever their supporters or MPs that belong that there are certain comments that are not necessary, at least at this point in time. And I've seen also the office of the Register of Political Parties also having aspirants meeting. I think through they must also now have like a multi-sectoral or a stakeholder, like a stakeholder engagement, so that whenever they are meeting these aspirants as office of the Register of Political Parties, they must also bring in NCIC, so that we also save time and resources, so that when they have such event, NCIC must also have certain representatives that also try to go and try to plead with this kind of individuals in those groupings to ensure that this country, this is the only country we have. We must at all costs avoid any kind of comments or whatever kind of action that would really try to take us back to what we witnessed in 2007.
Indeed, and we should really avoid that as well. Less than 150 days to the general polls, but all candidates are keeping their cards very, very close to their chests when it comes to the running mate, which is a question that a lot of people are really keen on following it up. How do you believe it's going to change the political landscape and indeed the 2022 general polls?
I think the biggest challenge and the headache is the choice of running mate. And actually that's why I think each and every side is trying to backpedal and actually to mark time to see what will the other side come up with. What will be, because actually the choice of running mate, I can assure you without any doubt, is really going to also be a determinant factor on to which side wins the election. And you know, this issue of about 50+1 is also something else, because actually you might get even maybe the whole votes, but again the law demands if you don't get more than 50% in half of the counties, again now that would not really help. So actually the issue of running mate, I think the people and whichever side and their strategies are not sleeping, and actually to ensure that whatever choice, whatever bet they will be a winning bet.
Between the two horses, as you just said, which horse seems to be having a big issue when it comes to the running mate question?
I think both of them have this similar problem, because actually both their teams, they have all those who have that ambition. There is those who within those certain formations that are really think that I am the one suitable, or whichever their supporters are pushing that we want this kind of individual, or it must come from this particular region, it must come from this particular region, if not this region, then that region. So I think the headache that they're having, both sides have the same problem.
Yes.
Equally.
And also in the coalition itself, because I see ANC, some of the ANC party officials or even members of parliament talking about we want this seat, others say no, we need this seat, and also we have the same issue when it comes to Azmi as well. But looking at, as we wind up, looking at the campaigns and that we are having and the political temperature that is there, what would you say in regards to the forthcoming elections? 150, less than 150 days.
I think you see now the law, we know our people, we are used to impunity, because you see now even the campaigns should have not, the IEBC have not officially declared the date official campaign period. I think it should be done maybe in the next couple of weeks, I think 2 weeks or so, before the end of this month maybe, or maybe in May actually. But we've seen like the election is being held tomorrow.
Yes.
So you know those kind of things. You know, if we are a disciplined society, I do agree that we are still a nascent democracy, but we are maturing up also anyway. But we must not be a country that we are people who just do things as we think and at what time. We must be people that, because if we are to wait until the official time for campaigns, all these meetings, they were to the political arrangements here and there, but not official campaigns. You know, we are in rallies, and we've been in rallies almost for the last 2 years or more
than a year.
Yeah. So you see now that is not a bit healthy anyway. But at least as we move forward, we believe that we will actually learn from mistakes, all these things. It's a learning process. We know what we didn't do right last election. We see how best can we correct it and mitigate. Yes.
Well said. I see Bernardo Thiambo, you say you're watching from Oyugis, Homa Bay County. We also have Muhia wa Kandara. You say Kandara well represented. We have Willie Njau, Nyeri, tuko pamoja. Thank you so much for your comments and for your audience. I have been speaking to a governance, leadership and governance expert, Charles Omanga, who is also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Thank you so much, Counsel. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for watching. My name is Njue, and Lensa Odingo is on the bottom right of your screen handling the sign language interpretation. But for now, we give rise to the Kiswahili version, that is Tamrini. But before then, we have Kurunzi Mashinani. But don't forget some of the news articles we are keen on today is the Kenya Kwanza Nairobi tour today. We have the IEBC CEO swearing in ceremony. I don't know what happened because it was supposed to be from 11 to 12 p.m. But in our subsequent bulletin, we will be updating you on the same. And of course, we have that the National Council for Population and Development, where we have our very own Kamche Menza, who is following keenly on it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ben Troy Njue. It's always a pleasure. Let's do this again some other time and continue the conversation on our social media spaces. Good afternoon.